The vast Confederation ship hovered silently above Earth's orbit, its sleek hull reflecting the distant sun. Inside, Senior Director Tejo stood before the curved viewport, hands clasped behind his back. Earth rotated slowly below, a blue marble suspended in darkness. "Beautiful, isn't it?" he said to no one in particular. "So much water, so many resources." The command deck bustled with activity as officers monitored screens and prepared reports. Tahoe had led many first contact missions, but Earth represented something special, a planet rich in elements rare throughout the galaxy. Council member Jisoo approached with a data tablet. She had sharp features and moved with precise, controlled steps. "Director, the scan results are complete." Tahoe nodded. "And humans have established colonies on their moon and Mars. They have orbital stations and defense platforms, but nothing that poses any threat to us." She swiped through images showing Earth's primitive spacecraft. Their propulsion systems use chemical rockets. Their weapons are basic kinetics and nuclear. Not even level 3 on our technological scale. "These humans have barely left their own moon," she added, pointing to the holographic display of Earth's orbital installations. "Their vessels are minuscule and crude." Tahoe smiled. This would be easier than expected. Earth would become another protected system under Confederation guidance, with all the benefits that arrangement offered the Confederation. Ambassador Kyung entered the command deck. Unlike the others with their confident posture, Kyung moved cautiously. His eyes reflected centuries of diplomatic service, and he had seen many species rise and fall. "Director, I've completed my analysis of their communications," Kyung said. Tahoe barely glanced at him. "Good. Prepare the standard first contact package. Offer them protection status and outline the resource requirements." Kyung hesitated. "Sir, I believe we should reconsider our approach." This caught Tahoe's attention. "Explain." "I studied their military transmissions," Kyung said. "Their tactical doctrines are unlike anything we've encountered. They don't fight conventionally." Jisoo scoffed. "What does it matter how they fight? Their weapons can't penetrate our shields." Kyung pulled up his own data display. Their history shows consistent patterns of smaller forces defeating technologically superior ones. They've developed warfare in ways that compensate for disadvantages. He pointed to intercepted military files. "This particularly concerns me. They call it asymmetric warfare and have refined it for centuries." Tahoe and Jisoo exchanged looks. "I believe we're underestimating them," Kyung cautioned. "Their military doctrines suggest unique approaches to warfare." Director Tejo studied the data briefly before dismissing it with a wave. "Your caution is noted, Ambassador, but unnecessary. Our technological advantage is absolute." Kyung persisted. "Sir, they've been broadcasting signals into space for over a century. They created countless scenarios about alien contact, many involving conflict. They're prepared." "Prepared for what?" Jisoo asked with a laugh. "Their most advanced warship would be destroyed by our smallest escort vessel." Tahoe nodded in agreement. "The assessment stands. Humans are primitive but resourceful. With proper guidance, they'll become productive members of the Confederation." Kyung knew when to stop pushing. He bowed slightly. "As you wish, Director." Later that day, Tahoe addressed the fleet commanders. 30 ships had assembled near Jupiter's orbit, hidden from Earth's detection systems. The massive vessels dwarfed anything humans had built, each capable of destroying an entire continent. "Our mission is simple," Tahoe explained to the assembled captains. "We will approach Earth in formation. Impressive but not threatening. We'll request a diplomatic meeting and present our terms." A young captain raised her hand. "Sir, what if they refuse?" Tahoe smiled. "They won't. But if they hesitate, we'll demonstrate our capabilities. Nothing harmful, perhaps disable one of their defense platforms. Show them the protection they need." The captains nodded. It was a familiar strategy, one that had worked countless times with developing worlds. Only Kyung remained concerned. While the others prepared for a simple diplomatic mission, he reviewed human military history again. The patterns troubled him deeply. Humans didn't surrender when threatened. They unified and fought harder. They developed creative solutions when conventional approaches failed. He drafted a final message to the High Council back home. Request reconsideration of Earth approach strategy. Species shows unusual adaptability and defensive innovation. Recommend genuine diplomatic engagement rather than standard subordination protocol. He received a one-line response. Proceed as directed. As the fleet prepared to move toward Earth, Kyung watched the blue planet on the view screen. He couldn't shake the feeling that the Confederation was making a terrible mistake. These humans weren't like other species they'd encountered. The 30 ships formed a perfect arrowhead formation and accelerated toward Earth, an overwhelming show of force disguised as a diplomatic welcome. Their mission: to guide humanity into accepting Confederation terms, essentially resource rights in exchange for protection. Kyung stood at the viewport as Earth grew larger. He whispered to himself, "I hope I'm wrong about them." But deep down, he knew he wasn't. The space station Harmony floated silently against the backdrop of Earth. Its circular structure gleamed in the sunlight, designed specifically for this historic meeting. Inside, two species prepared to face each other for the first time. Admiral Do-yeon adjusted her formal uniform one last time. At 45, she had risen through Earth's combined military ranks through skill and level-headed decision-making. Today would test those qualities more than any previous mission. All ships in position, Admiral, her communications officer reported. The alien delegation has docked at the North Airlock. Do-yeon nodded. Remember your training. No sudden movements. Follow protocol. These beings may look strange, but we treat them with respect. Her team of diplomats, scientists, and military personnel stood straighter. They represented humanity's first impression to an advanced galactic civilization. The airlock doors slid open with a soft hiss. The Confederation representatives entered, led by a tall figure with iridescent skin that shifted colors in the light. Behind this leader came beings of various forms, some with multiple limbs, others with exoskeletons, all watching the humans with what seemed like curiosity. Do-yeon stepped forward. On behalf of Earth and all humanity, I welcome you to our home system. I am Admiral Do-yeon of the United Earth Defense Fleet. The lead alien bowed slightly. I am Director Teo of the Galactic Confederation. We bring greetings from 17 advanced civilizations. The translation systems worked perfectly, converting their clicks and tones into smooth human language. Still, something in their manner put Do-yeon on alert. She recognized the subtle signs of superiority in their posture, the same way colonial powers had once approached indigenous peoples on Earth. After formal introductions, they moved to the circular conference room. Earth's representatives sat on one side, the aliens on the other. The viewport between them showed both Earth and the massive alien ships hovering in the distance. Earth appreciates your welcome, Admiral Do-yeon stated carefully. But we seek equal partnership, not patronage. The Confederation representatives exchanged glances. A female-presenting alien named Jisoo stepped forward. Your species is young. You require guidance and protection, which we offer generously in exchange for reasonable access to your system's resources. Do-yeon maintained her diplomatic smile, while internally noting the confirmation of her concerns. Perhaps we should clarify terms. What resources interest the Confederation? Jisoo's color-shifting skin brightened. Your planet has abundant water, rare metals, and biological diversity. We would establish extraction facilities under Confederation supervision. And in exchange, Do-yeon asked, protection from hostile forces in the galaxy, technology appropriate for your development level, medical advancements. One of Earth's diplomats whispered to Do-yeon, they're talking about colonization, not alliance. Before Do-yeon could respond, an alert sounded from the Confederation side. Jisoo examined a device on her wrist, her colors darkening to a deep purple. "Your escort vessels are armed," she accused, looking up with what appeared to be genuine surprise. "Advanced weapons systems, powered and ready." Do-hyun remained calm. "As are yours. Standard protocol." "This violates diplomatic convention," Jisoo insisted. "Peaceful meetings require unarmed vessels." "Not in human convention," Do-hyun explained. "We've never built unarmed ships. Defense capabilities are standard on all our vessels." Director Taeho stepped forward. "This is unacceptable. It suggests hostile intent." The atmosphere in the room shifted. What had been diplomatic tension now felt dangerous. Do-hyun tried to recover the situation. "Perhaps this is a cultural misunderstanding. We can explain our defensive posture if—" Her communication device beeped urgently. "Admiral," her officer reported, "the UESF Vigilant reports energy buildup in one of the alien vessels. Weapons signature." Outside the viewport, they all watched as a beam of light shot from one of the Confederation ships toward a small human escort vessel. The beam struck with precision, disabling its engines but leaving the ship intact. The room erupted in chaos. Human diplomats jumped to their feet. Confederation representatives began speaking rapidly in their own languages. Director Taeho raised his hands. "A precautionary measure only. Your ship was adjusting position toward one of our vessels." "That ship was avoiding a solar flare," Do-hyun stated coldly, looking at the sensor data on her tablet. "Your action is an act of war." "Not war," Taeho corrected. "A demonstration. Your technology cannot match ours. We offer protection because you need it. This incident proves our point." Do-hyun stood up straight, her patience gone. "This meeting is over." She tapped her communication device. "All Earth vessels, battle stations." The Confederation delegates seemed more amused than concerned. Jisoo actually made a sound that might have been laughter. "You cannot seriously believe your ships can stand against our fleet." Do-hyun walked toward the airlock, her team following. At the door, she turned back to face the aliens. "You've studied our planet, but clearly not our history. We faced superior forces before." She stepped through the airlock with her team and sealed it behind them. Once aboard her command shuttle, she opened a channel to all ships, both human and alien. Her voice was calm but firm as it echoed across space. "Confederation vessels, withdraw immediately. Human warships are a deadly force." In the Confederation flagship, Director Taeho and Council Member Jisoo watched the humans retreat toward their fleet. "They're actually preparing to fight," Jisoo said with disbelief. "How amusing." Ambassador Kyung, who had remained silent during the meeting, closed his eyes briefly. "No," he whispered. "How tragic." Director Taeho stood on the command deck of the Confederation flagship, watching the human fleet arrange itself in what appeared to be a defensive formation. The tiny ships looked like toys compared to his massive vessels. "Such arrogance," he scoffed, settling into his command chair. "Show them their proper place." Captain Chunho nodded and relayed the order. "All ships advance and disable their lead vessels. Minimal force." The 30 Confederation ships moved forward in perfect unison, their formation unchanged. This display of force had cowed dozens of species before. The Confederation weapons officers targeted the largest human ships, preparing to knock out their engines with precise shots. Ambassador Kyung stepped onto the command deck, his face tight with worry. "Director, I urge you to reconsider. Open communications again." "Too late for that," Taeho replied without looking at him. "They need to learn respect first." The Confederation ships fired their warning shots, bright beams of energy streaking across space toward the human vessels. What happened next stunned everyone on the command deck. The human ships broke formation in ways that seemed impossible. They split apart like scattering birds, each vessel taking a different vector. Not a single warning shot found its target. "Impossible," muttered Captain Chunho. "They couldn't have predicted our firing solutions." Before the Confederation could adjust, the human fleet transformed from a defensive posture to an attacking one. Their ships didn't move in ordered formation, but instead seemed to operate independently yet somehow in perfect coordination. The UEFS Indomitable, a ship one-fifth the size of its Confederation counterpart, accelerated suddenly toward the flagship. The Confederation gunners tracked it, but the small ship jinked and rolled in ways that defied prediction. 3 energy beams missed it completely. Their maneuverability doesn't match our intelligence reports, a tactical officer called out, her voice rising with concern. The Indomitable fired what looked like primitive missiles. The Confederation officers almost laughed. Missiles against their advanced shields. But these weren't ordinary explosives. As they approached, they split into dozens of smaller projectiles, each emitting a specific frequency. When they struck the flagship's shields, they didn't explode. Instead, they created resonance patterns that made the shields flicker. "They're targeting our shield generators," shouted the defense officer. "The frequencies are matched exactly to our shield modulation." Director Tejo stood up, his confidence shaken for the first time. How could they know our shield frequencies? Across the battlefield, 4 other human vessels were executing a complex attack pattern against the second-largest Confederation ship. They didn't attack head-on as expected, but instead approached from multiple angles, firing smaller weapons that seemed precisely calibrated to stress shield systems at specific points. On the tactical display, a red alert flashed. One of the Confederation's heavy cruisers had lost shields completely. "Vessel 9 reports total shield failure," reported the communications officer, disbelief in her voice. "Their generator is offline." Another alert sounded, then another. "Vessel 12 reports weapons systems failure." "Vessel 5 has lost propulsion." "Vessel 8 reports multiple hull breaches." Director Tejo's face paled as he watched his perfect fleet falling into chaos. The human ships moved like nothing he had ever seen, not in formation, but in a chaotic pattern that somehow made perfect sense to them. They targeted specific systems rather than trying to destroy ships outright. "Their ships must be automated," Captain Junho suggested desperately. "No living pilot could execute those maneuvers." Ambassador Kyung shook his head. "No, their transmissions confirm living pilots. They've simply trained differently than we have." Within 20 minutes, 5 Confederation capital ships had been disabled, not destroyed, but rendered combat ineffective. The humans had targeted propulsion systems, weapons banks, and shield generators with surgical precision. Kyung stepped closer to Director Tejo. "I warned you," he whispered. "Humans don't fight like any species we've encountered." The flagship rocked as something struck its lower hull. Warning lights flashed across the command deck. "Main power failing on decks 12 through 20, reported an officer. "They've somehow targeted our power distribution nodes." Director Tejo gripped the arms of his command chair. His mighty fleet, the pride of the Confederation, was being systematically dismantled by ships that should have been easily destroyed. How? He demanded of no one in particular. "How are they doing this?" Kyung accessed a data terminal. "I've been studying them for years. Their military evolved differently from ours. Where we built bigger, more powerful centralized systems, they built redundant, distributed networks. Our ships are powerful but vulnerable to precision strikes. Their ships can continue fighting even when severely damaged." Another blast rocked the ship. "Communications from the human admiral," called an officer. Admiral Doyen's face appeared on the main screen. Her expression was stern, but not triumphant. "Confederation fleet, you have experienced a small demonstration of our capabilities. We have disabled 5 of your vessels without destruction or loss of life. Withdraw now, or we will be forced to take more permanent measures." Tejo stared at the screen in disbelief. This primitive was giving him orders. Captain Junho leaned close. "Director, we should consider tactical retreat. Half our fleet is unable to maintain combat effectiveness." "Retreat? Before primitives?" Tejo hissed. But the tactical display didn't lie. The human ships continued their unpredictable movements, clearly preparing for another attack run. Ambassador Kyung stepped forward. Director, there is no shame in reassessment. We clearly misunderstood their capabilities. After a moment of tense silence, Tahoe gave a sharp nod. All vessels, disengage and withdraw to rally point Sigma, he ordered. As the Confederation fleet retreated, Kyung watched the human ships return to defensive positions around their planet. They didn't pursue. Another surprise. They fight only to defend, Kyung observed quietly. Another thing we fail to understand about them. The Confederation fleet limped away, their certainty shattered by a military doctrine they couldn't comprehend. Human asymmetric warfare. The Grand Hall of the Confederation sparkled with light reflecting off its crystal walls. Hundreds of representatives from 17 species sat in rising tiers, all facing the central platform where Director Tahoe stood. His usual confident posture was gone. His skin had lost its bright colors, fading to a dull gray. The human engagement did not proceed as expected, he admitted, his voice echoing through the vast chamber. High Counselor Minna rose from her seat, her forearms gesturing in agitation. Expected. Our fleet was humiliated. 5 capital ships disabled by primitives. Her voice rose with each word. How could primitives defeat our advanced fleet? Murmurs rippled through the hall. Many representatives had never heard of a Confederation defeat, especially against a species that had barely reached its own moon. Ambassador Kyung stepped onto the platform beside Tahoe. Unlike the director, he appeared calm, though tired. He had spent days analyzing the battle data and preparing his report. Honored representatives, he began, I've completed my analysis of the human engagement. The hall quieted. Kyung activated the central display, showing images of Earth's ships. They don't understand humans at all, he whispered to himself, and that will cost us dearly. The massive Confederation armada emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation. 200 warships, each gleaming with power, arranged in attack positions. General Jiho stood on the command deck of the flagship, confident and ready. This would be a swift, decisive victory. Sensors, report, he ordered. The sensor officer's voice faltered. Sir, human ships detected. How many? 500. Sir. The command deck fell silent. On the main screen, the human defense fleet appeared. 500 ships of varying sizes, formed in a 3-dimensional pattern never seen in Confederation tactical manuals. They weren't in neat rows but arranged in what looked like an organic, flowing structure that constantly shifted. Director Tahoe stepped forward, his skin pale. This isn't possible. Our intelligence said they had fewer than 100 warships. Ambassador Kyung stood quietly at the back of the command deck. He wasn't surprised. He had warned them. Sir, the communications officer called out, the humans are not powering weapons. They're holding position. General Jiho hesitated. With 200 advanced ships, he still believed victory was possible. But 500 vessels meant significant Confederation losses. Before Jiho could give the order to attack, Kyung stepped forward. Let me speak with them. This is a military operation, Jiho objected. One last attempt, Director Tahoe decided, surprising everyone. But be quick. Kyung nodded and moved to the communication station. Open a direct channel to Admiral Doyeon. The human admiral's face appeared on screen. She looked calm despite the enormous fleets facing each other. Admiral, Kyung began, I speak not for the Confederation, but as one who seeks to prevent unnecessary bloodshed. May we discuss terms? Admiral Doyeon studied him for a moment before nodding. You were the only one who treated us with respect at our first meeting. Yes, we can talk. What followed shocked the Confederation leaders. Admiral Doyeon invited a small delegation to meet aboard a neutral vessel positioned between the fleets. There, humans revealed the full extent of their technological capabilities. This is our actual fleet, explained Admiral Doyeon, showing holographic images of vessels far more advanced than what they had previously displayed. What you saw in our first encounter was our reserve force, ships we keep for training purposes. She activated another display, showing ships with technology that rivaled the best Confederation designs. "We detected your observation posts near Jupiter 12 years ago," she continued. "We've been studying your technology while feeding you selected information about our capabilities." Director Tejo stared in disbelief. "But your planet shows all signs of early space development, a carefully crafted facade," Admiral Doyon replied. "We learned long ago that appearing less advanced than you are can be a significant advantage." She showed them more. Propulsion systems that didn't rely on conventional physics, weapons designed to bypass shields entirely, and defensive systems that could withstand tremendous damage. "We don't want war," she emphasized. "We never did. We want fair and equal relationships with other species." Ambassador Kyung watched the Confederation leaders' faces shift from shock to reluctant respect. The humans had outmaneuvered them completely, not through superior firepower, but through strategy and patience. For 2 weeks, delegations from Earth and the Confederation worked on a new agreement. The Confederation team was forced to abandon their standard protection template and negotiate as equals for the first time in their history. On the final day, aboard the station Harmony where they had first met, Admiral Doyon and Director Tejo signed the Peace of Harmony. The document recognized Earth as a full and equal member of the Confederation, with all the rights and responsibilities that entailed. As they signed, Director Tejo looked across at the human admiral. "You could have destroyed our fleet." Admiral Doyon shook her head. "That was never our goal. We simply wanted respect." 6 months later, Admiral Doyon retired from military service and became Earth's first ambassador to the Confederation. Her first mission was to help reform the organization itself. The Confederation has operated on the principle that technological advancement always follows the same path, she explained to the Grand Council. But every species develops differently based on their unique history and challenges. Over the next few years, the Confederation transformed. Under the guidance of Ambassador Doyon and forward-thinking leaders like Kyung, it evolved from a hierarchical structure into a true alliance of equals. New species were welcomed as partners rather than protectorates. Knowledge was shared rather than controlled. And the definition of advanced expanded beyond weapons and ships to include cultural development, ethical systems, and creative problem-solving. In the officer academies across Confederation space, the battle that never happened became required study. A saying spread among ship captains: respect the small ships that carry big guns, and never ignore warnings about human ingenuity. 10 years after first contact, Ambassador Kyung visited Earth for a diplomatic conference. He stood with Ambassador Doyon on a balcony overlooking the Pacific Ocean. "Your approach changed everything," he told her. "The Confederation is stronger now than it ever was." Doyon smiled. "We learn from history. Empires that rule through force eventually fall. Alliances built on mutual respect endure." Below them, delegations from 23 species, 6 more than when the Confederation had first contacted Earth, mingled and talked as equals. The galaxy had learned that technological advancement and military prowess weren't measured by the size of one's ships, but by the innovation behind them. The humans had never wanted war, just respect. In the end, they earned both. The end.